Good evening, and welcome to the Modern Agora. Tonight we are tackling a question that sits at the very heart of public health and personal liberty. Should mandatory vaccination be enforced by governments? This is not just a theoretical debate. It has profound implications for every member of our society. With us to explore this complex issue are two distinguished experts. Arguing in favor of mandatory vaccination is Dr. Ben Carter, a renowned public health specialist with decades of experience in epidemiology. Presenting the case against is Dr. Anya Sharma, a bioethicist and civil liberties advocate known for her work on medical ethics and patient rights. We will begin with opening statements, followed by a moderated discussion, and conclude with their final remarks. Our goal is a respectful and insightful exchange of ideas. Dr. Carter, please begin.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. The position I advocate for tonight is not born from a desire to control, but from a commitment to protect. Mandatory vaccination is, quite simply, one of the most effective and necessary public health tools ever developed. Its success is not a matter of opinion. It is a historical fact. We live in a world largely free from the terror of smallpox, a disease that killed hundreds of millions. We have pushed polio to the brink of eradication. These monumental achievements were not secured by individual choices alone, but by collective, coordinated, and often mandated vaccination campaigns. The core scientific principle here is herd immunity. When a high percentage of the population is vaccinated, it creates a protective barrier that shields not just the vaccinated, but also the most vulnerable among us. Think of newborn babies too young to be vaccinated, or cancer patients whose immune systems are compromised by chemotherapy, or the elderly whose immunity is naturally waning. They rely on the community's immunity for their survival. This is not just a medical issue, it is a matter of social contract. We, as members of a society, accept certain limitations on our absolute freedom for the greater good. We accept speed limits to prevent traffic accidents, and we ban smoking in public places to protect others from secondhand smoke. Mandatory vaccination is no different. It is a reasonable measure to prevent the spread of dangerous communicable diseases. The safety of modern vaccines is overwhelmingly supported by global scientific consensus, backed by rigorous testing and continuous monitoring. While individual choice is a value we all cherish, it cannot be an absolute right when its exercise poses a direct threat to the health and lives of others. Therefore, enforcing vaccination is a scientifically backed, ethically justified, and socially responsible action to preserve the health of our entire community.
Dr. Sharma, your opening statement.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. And thank you, Dr. Carter, for outlining the public health perspective so clearly. Let me be absolutely clear from the outset. This debate is not about the effectiveness of vaccines. I acknowledge they are a major medical achievement. This debate is about compulsion. The question is whether a government has the right to force its citizens to undergo a medical procedure against their will. My answer is an unequivocal no. At the heart of my argument is a fundamental ethical principle that forms the bedrock of modern medicine and human rights: bodily autonomy. This is the right of every individual to control their own body, to make their own decisions about their own health. Mandatory policies, by their very nature, violate this right. They replace a personal decision with a state decree, transforming a healthcare choice into a civic duty enforced by penalties. This directly undermines the doctrine of informed consent, which requires that a patient be given all the relevant information and freely consents to a medical treatment without coercion or duress. Consent given under the threat of losing your job, your education, or your freedom of movement is not true consent. It is compliance. Furthermore, we must consider the dangerous precedent such a policy sets. If a government can mandate this procedure today for the sake of public health, what other personal health decisions will it claim authority over tomorrow? Could it mandate specific diets, exercise regimens, or even reproductive choices in the name of collective well-being? This is a slippery slope that erodes individual liberty. Finally, force is a poor tool for public health. Mandates breed resentment and distrust in medical and governmental institutions. They can entrench opposition and make people less likely to comply with other, voluntary health recommendations. The better path, the more ethical and effective long-term strategy, is to build trust through transparency, ensure universal and easy access to vaccines, and invest in robust public health education. A healthy society is built on empowerment, not enforcement.
Thank you both for your compelling opening statements. Let us now move into our discussion. Dr. Sharma, I would like to start with you. Dr. Carter made a powerful case for herd immunity as a protective shield for the most vulnerable. How do you reconcile the principle of individual bodily autonomy with the potential and very real harm an unvaccinated individual might cause to others who have no choice in the matter, such as an infant or a cancer patient?
That is the most challenging question in this debate, and it deserves a careful answer. The idea that we must choose between individual rights and community safety is, I believe, a false dilemma. The responsibility to protect the vulnerable is absolute, but the method we use to achieve that protection is what we are debating. Violating the fundamental rights of one group to protect another is a deeply problematic ethical path. Instead of resorting to coercion, a truly compassionate society should focus on strategies that do not involve infringing on bodily autonomy. For example, we can dramatically increase funding for healthcare infrastructure to ensure that hospitals are safe and well-equipped. We can create and fund specialized safe environments for the immunocompromised, improve ventilation in public spaces, and provide high-quality protective equipment. We can also invest far more than we currently do in transparent, community-led public health education to address concerns and combat misinformation respectfully. The argument that the only way to protect the vulnerable is to force a medical procedure on the unwilling is an argument of limitation. It suggests a lack of imagination and a failure to invest in more difficult, but ultimately more ethical, solutions. A society that truly values freedom must find ways to manage public health risks without abandoning its core principles. Coercion is an easy answer, but it's not the right one.
Dr. Carter, I will turn the next question to you. Dr. Sharma raises a critical point about the erosion of trust between the public and health authorities. How can a mandatory policy be implemented without alienating a significant portion of the population and being perceived as government overreach, potentially making public health cooperation worse in the long run?
This is a significant and valid challenge. The implementation of any mandate is as important as the mandate itself. It cannot be done by decree from an ivory tower. It must be a process built on absolute transparency and robust public engagement. First, the scientific justification for the mandate must be communicated clearly, consistently, and through trusted community channels. This includes being honest about what we know, what we don't know, and the precise nature of the risks, both from the disease and from the vaccine. Second, any mandate must have clearly defined, legally protected exemptions for those with valid medical contraindications. This demonstrates that the policy is based on health and safety, not blind compliance. Third, it is crucial to frame the mandate correctly. It should not be presented as a permanent expansion of state power, but as a specific, targeted, and temporary response to a clear and present public health crisis. It should be subject to regular review and have a clear sunset clause, much like other emergency powers. Dr. Sharma's proposed alternatives, better funding, education, and so on, are all things we should be doing anyway. They are not mutually exclusive with mandates. They are complementary. Ultimately, I believe that successfully preventing the widespread suffering and death caused by a dangerous disease will, in the long term, build far more trust than allowing that disease to spread unchecked, out of a fear of being perceived as heavy-handed. Action, in this case, speaks louder than words. Demonstrating that public health institutions can and will act decisively to protect the public is the most powerful trust-building exercise there is.
Dr. Sharma, a brief response?
Dr. Carter's vision of a transparent, temporary mandate is an ideal, But history often shows us a different reality. Emergency powers have a tendency to become permanent, and trust, once broken by force, is incredibly difficult to rebuild.
Dr. Carter?
And the slippery slope argument, while emotionally compelling, can be used to oppose any public safety regulation. We didn't slide into tyranny because of seatbelt laws. We must evaluate each measure on its own merits, based on the scale of the threat it addresses.
We are nearing the end of our time. I will now ask each of you for a brief closing statement. Dr. Carter, please.
Thank you. This debate ultimately comes down to a fundamental question. Do we live as isolated individuals or as a connected community? My position is clear. Our connection to each other comes with responsibilities. Vaccines are one of the greatest public health achievements in human history, saving countless lives. A mandate is not a punishment, it is a shield. It is a compassionate, scientifically supported policy that protects the vulnerable, preserves our healthcare systems, and saves lives. It is a small and reasonable sacrifice to make for the monumental gain of public health and safety for all.
Dr. Sharma, your final thoughts?
The fundamental principle at stake tonight is freedom. The moment we allow the state to make personal medical decisions for us, we have surrendered a right that is essential to human dignity. The path to a healthy and resilient society is not paved with force, but with trust, education, and empowerment. Coercion is the enemy of trust. Protecting public health and protecting individual liberty are not opposing goals, they must be pursued together. Forcing a medical procedure on a population, regardless of the intention, sets a dangerous precedent that threatens the very foundation of a free society.
And that is all the time we have. My sincere thanks to Dr. Ben Carter and Dr. Anya Sharma for their eloquent, passionate, and deeply thoughtful arguments on this incredibly important topic. You have illuminated the central tension of this issue, the complex, delicate balance between ensuring our collective well-being and upholding the fundamental right to individual autonomy. We do not declare a winner here. Our aim was to provide you, our audience, with the substance needed to reflect on these points and form your own informed opinion. Thank you for joining us on The Modern Agora. Good evening.